Hello, and thank you for attending SAGE Alerts and Workflow video-based training. Please note that this is video-based training and content is for training purposes only and intended for new and existing SAGE Alerts and Workflow customers.
Hello, this is Russ Leskow, and today we're going to talk about using reports and adding reports to events in the Alert and Automation tool. Up to now, you've hopefully seen some of our videos on creating queries and creating events themselves. All of them have a first step really in the process, and that is really to think about really what you want to do and how you want the event to behave and perform. And when you're looking at reports, you're much doing the same thing, looking at how you're going to want the actual reports to be created and what type of report are we going to be using. So in reporting, creating a report event, we need first of all to understand that there are two types of reports that are supported in the Alert and Automation tool. The report itself could be written in Crystal reports, or it can be written using Microsoft SQL Reporting Services, which often goes by its abbreviation of SSRS. So those are the two main types of report tools that the output of which would be supported in the Alert and Automation tool. The other thing to think about is what kind of event is it going to be regarding a report? Is it going to be a report, scheduled report, or a triggered report? Now, a scheduled report is simply a report that you're going to want to create and deliver to a set group of people every Monday morning at 9 o'clock, maybe something that goes over sales for the day or shipments for the day. So that would be a scheduled type of event. And the other would be a triggered event, and that would be run and delivered based on various criteria that you set up in that event as it relates to the trigger and perhaps the various conditions that need to be met for that report to be run. So in prior videos, you saw how emails could be created, but you could attach a report to an email. And that's really going to be some of the areas we're going to get involved in here, particularly as it relates to triggered types of events. So let's go in and take a look at where we've been before as far as the tool itself. Most of this should be looking familiar to you at this point. We are working in a application group here called ERP2 applications. You can tell by what looks like a monitor at the very top. And then underneath it, we do have, it could be a series of queries. We've gone through creating these queries and setting them up. And we started to look at our first entry into the event configuration or design when we created this particular event that had just an email as its delivery. So we're going to now add something to this group that can be used in an event, and we're going to add a report. So you'll see here that in this group, when we open up the list of things that can be entered or created for this group, as you can see, reports is among those items. So we have a report that we have created. There's a couple of things that are fairly important when we're adding a report here. And take notice, we do have, for convenience sake, the ability to copy reports. So you may have a report already set up perhaps in another application group. You can just simply highlight it, copy it, then bring it over here and paste the report. So that obviously can save a lot of time. This report, we're going to open up the edit and take a look at what makes up this report. As you can see, this is a Crystal report I mentioned before. It could also be an SSRS or Microsoft SQL Reporting Services report. Here, of course, you've got some important things to put in as far as the report server that's been set up for SSRS and so forth. But in this particular example we're using today, we're simply going to have a simple crystal report. The name of it, obviously, and description would be here. If it is a report that is perhaps on the server or somewhere in the network, important that you're going to have to put in a path that takes you to exactly where that report is. And really, for the most part, that's all really of the major steps that would be required to enter a report or put a report in here that can be used in any event that you create within this application group. I'm not going to update this because I actually do have one here. If I open it up again, you'll see some of that information that I mentioned already filled in, particularly the path. Another thing to keep in mind is that when these reports are created, they could have been created with some built-in questions that need to be answered before that report can be run. So that's what's referred to as a parameter. When we attach this report into the Alert and Automation tool, it'll know that there are parameters here that are going to be needed for this report to run. When you look at the report up here, it's going to show what those parameters are here in terms of the fields that are in fact that. Keep in mind also when we looked at creating queries back in a previous video, we talked about how you can change the description of the column or the field to make it something a little bit more recognizable or understandable in your environment. This is one of those places where that can be used to make it easier, because we will have to, as we are building the query, answer the question in terms of where those parameters are going to get their answer from, and in many cases it will be coming from a database field. So we'll look a little bit more at that in just a few moments. So that report is now set and it is ready now to be used. Again, it can be used in any event that's created within this group. This is the event that we started looking at in our previous video. So what I've done is I'm just going to show some updates to this that reflects what we are going to do. Now remember, one of the first questions is whether this is going to be a scheduled report or is it going to be a triggered report. And the difference between the two should be rather obvious, but sometimes it's not. That a schedule report would obviously use a schedule, and you can use these schedules and create them and put in whatever value you need, or create some little more sophistication with the schedule itself. But if there's a schedule, that's all you need for a scheduled report. You are not actually going to use a trigger. This report is only going to run based on the time of day it is and the schedule. And it's not really going to be running from a triggered condition or value that the query or something is looking for. So simply in the case of a scheduled report, this would just simply not be there. This section would be blank. We would still be obviously generating the report, and we could be using an email as a delivery method, but it's all going to be done based on the scheduling method. So let's look at how we would put a report in here, as it obviously is under the deliverable section. And we're going to go highlight this, and what we are going to do is answer the questions regarding the parameters. Where are those parameters going to get their value? So if you remember when we were looking at the report on top, it had 3 parameters listed, and this is going to be the answer. Basically, this is going to be the value that is going to be used, whether it be a database field or you want it to be a hard-coded value, and they are going to be shown here in that customized term, if as we just mentioned a few moments ago. So if you did that back in the query, then this is really one of the first places where it can work for you. You're going to choose a lot of different from a list here of different options on how you want the report to be delivered. Some PDFs may not look so great with ASCII and so on and so forth, or some crystal reports I should say. So you're going to look at this. Probably one of the more common choices here would be to actually make it a PDF, and that's going to be the actual report that is going to be delivered by this particular query. I might want to make a reminder to you that we go back to the email that we talked about in the previous video. We had an example of this report listing some orders, as you can see, and we talked about whether we want this to be one report for each one of the orders that are being highlighted or identified from the trigger, or do we want it to be grouped in some way whereby we have one email but it lists everything, or do we want, if you remember, to have it be delivered based on a sorting or grouping criteria that would be based on a field in the query itself. And we talked about how we would use the different options of begin repeat and end repeat to be able to, in this example here, have one email go out listing everything that qualified or that was captured by that query. The other option, if you might recall, was that when we went to the trigger itself, and we'll just try to open that up here, and we're able to see a column. We highlighted the salesperson as a grouping or sorting column. So therefore, we were able to use then a field that would be available through the subscriber advanced function to be able to have a message break occur, and that would be based on the grouping of a same salesperson. So once all the orders are shown for one person, it would go to the next salesperson and group everything there. That is also going to, since it works with the email, that is also going to reflect the way in which the reports are going to be delivered as well, because there will be an attachment to the actual email here. So I just want to make a point just in bridging something we did in the previous video to how we'd be setting up a similar scenario over here. So in any event, what we're doing here with the report itself, we're identifying the report. We were able to add this report based on the fact that it was in this folder up here. That's why we put that report there before we did this. So that report now became available, and what we do when we set up in here the report itself, we then obviously would answer the fields that are going to be the answers to the parameters that report requires. And then that really completes setting up the report itself. Then we can attach it or indicate that it'll be an attachment on the email. We can kind of finish up the other deliverables as needed. So thank you. That should hopefully be helpful as far as giving you some basic information about setting up reports in the Alert and Automation tool. Thank you for your time and good luck. Bye.
Thank you for attending Sage Alerts and Workflow video-based training.